Hello, I'm Sergeant First Class Calvin Witt. I'm an anatomy and physiology instructor at the AMED Center and School, Fort Sam, Houston, Texas. Today's laboratory will look at the anatomy and physiology of the eye and the ear. The eye is comprised of 3 layers of tissues. These tissue layers are referred to as tunics. The external surface of the eye, which has a whitish appearance to it, is referred to as the sclera. The sclera is a fibrous tissue which helps to maintain the shape of the eye. It also serves as an attachment point for extrinsic muscles of the eye. These extrinsic muscles are responsible for pointing the eye in the direction in which we want to look. That task is so complex that there are 3 pairs of cranial nerves dedicated strictly to the task of pointing the eye. The more anterior surface of the eye, which is transparent to allow light to enter, is referred to as the cornea. The tunic that is internal to the sclera and the cornea is referred to as the choroid layer, or vascular tunic. The choroid layer is comprised of a heavy vascularized area, which is shown in blue in this model, and also includes other structures such as the iris. The iris is the colored portion of the eye, which regulates the amount of light that is permitted to enter the eye. Also included within the choroid layer is a layer or process known as the ciliary body. The ciliary body is comprised of processes which emit a fluid which fills the anterior portion of the eye, and also muscle fibers which are referred to as the ciliary muscle. The ciliary muscle contracts to affect the shape of the lens. The ciliary muscle does not pull directly on the lens, but is attached to the lens by suspensory ligaments. And when the ciliary muscle contracts, the suspensory ligaments have the tension on them released. This allows the lens to change its shape and thereby focus the image in the area of the retina where it should be focused. The internal layer of the eye, the most internal layer, is referred to as the nervous tunic, and the nervous tunic is the retina. The retina is demonstrated in orange in this model. The point where the nerve fibers that make up the retina exit the eye is referred to as the optic disc. The region within the retina where most images should be focused is an area that is known as the Fovea Centralis. There are many rods and cones located in the Fovea Centralis, and this is the center of the vision primarily for color vision. And areas in the more peripheral portion of the retina are responsible for night vision because of the concentration of rods in that area. The optic disc has no rods or cones in it, and it is therefore known as the blind spot. The anterior chamber of the eye is filled with a fluid that is secreted from the ciliary processes and fills the anterior chamber of the eye. This fluid is known as the aqueous humor. The fluid is secreted and reabsorbed in this area, and when that fluid is not properly reabsorbed, the condition known as glaucoma results. The posterior region of the eye is filled with a much thicker, more viscous fluid known as the vitreous humor. The vitreous humor is responsible for maintaining the shape of the eye from the interior aspect. Let's now begin our discussion of the ear. The external ear is comprised of the pinna. The pinna is the portion of the ear that projects or sticks out from the side of the head. It is designed to catch sound waves and to direct the sound waves down the external auditory meatus. The external auditory meatus has some specialized structures located within it. These structures are in the skin that lines the ear canal. These are referred to as Seruminous Glands. The Seruminous Glands are responsible for secreting the wax. That wax serves the purpose of making the skin slightly tacky to reduce the number of objects which can slide down into the ear and up against the neck structure. As the sound waves are directed down the external auditory meatus, they will strike the tympanic membrane. The tympanic membrane, or the eardrum, then vibrates in response to the sound waves that are striking it. These sound waves are then transferred into the middle ear by way of three bones that are referred to as the ossicles. The first of the ossicles is attached to the tympanic membrane, and it is referred to as the Malleus. The common name for that is the hammer. The second of the three ossicles is the incus, or the anvil, and the third of the three ossicles is the stapes, or stirrup. The stapes is attached to the internal ear at a region known as the oval window. The action of those three ossicles is to increase the energy that has been received by the tympanic membrane by a value of approximately 1.3 times. Since the middle ear is an air-filled cavity, there must be some means by which air pressure is regulated in the middle ear so that it is equal to the air pressure on the outside, or the atmospheric air pressure. This is accomplished by a special structure referred to as the Eustachian Tube. The Eustachian Tube is an opening from the middle ear into the nasopharynx region. The inner ear is found completely within the temporal bone, and it's the location for the special senses both for hearing and for balance. The portion of the inner ear that resembles a snail is referred to as the cochlea. This snail-shaped portion contains within it a structure known as the Cochlear Duct. The Cochlear Duct contains specialized receptors that are identified as a group as the organ of Corti. This is where the hearing sensations are received, are interpreted as nervous signals. The region that is internal or medial to the cochlea is referred to as the vestibule. Within the vestibule are two structures known as the utricle and the saccule. The utricle and the saccule are responsible for the interpretation of static equilibrium. The region of the internal ear known as the semicircular canals are responsible for interpreting rotational or dynamic equilibrium. All nerve impulses receiving information about balance, whether it be rotational balance or static balance or equilibrium, and all hearing impulses are sent to the brain over the Vestibulocochlear Nerve, or the 8th cranial nerve. This concludes today's laboratory on the anatomy and physiology of the eye and ear.